I know that I can get through something big now. I know that like I've gone through this horrendous experience, and if it had happened again 2-3 days ago, I know I would be able to get through it again.
Welcome back to Happiness in Progress. I'm your host, Danielle Craig. I'm an Emmy Award winner, former journalist, mom, wife, and just a person looking for more joy in the everyday. This podcast is brought to you by the Mail Tribune. You can find more podcasts at mailtribune.com. Today's guest is Christine Daoust. She lost her home 10 years ago in the Oak Knoll Fire in Ashland, Oregon. I wanted to ask her onto the podcast because, as many of you know, if you follow me on social media, I've been talking a lot about this. Our community here in Southern Oregon has just been decimated. Decimated is the closest word I can think of to match the devastation of what's happening here. A fire moved through a few days ago and it burned several's not even a big enough word. It burned 600 structures, and many of those structures were apartment buildings. And many of those buildings were trailers, and the real estimate of homes that were lost is somewhere around 3,500. On top of that, many of those homes housed several generations of families. We are talking about a massive loss in Jackson County, which is in Southern Oregon. So I wanted to have Christine on the podcast to talk a little bit about her experience of losing her home and really her rise from the ashes, where she was able to find hope, how she moved forward, and some really tangible tools like what to do about insurance, some of the first things she started doing, and some really great advice to people who are wanting to help. She has some great advice for you as well. This is a really good episode, and you know what? It's a really emotional episode, especially right now that I'm putting this out, but I really, really wanted to have something that could be useful and could inform people and just kind of bring people into what's happening without having someone who's just gone through it have to come on here and share their trauma that they are currently in. So with that, let's get to it. Thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's just jump right into your story. Tell me about what you went through. Is it 10 years ago now?
Yes, it was 10 years ago, August 24th. So
wow, almost exactly.
Yeah, so it was what was called the Oak Knoll Fire. And so for people who like kind of weren't around or don't quite remember, it was a fire that started on the south side of Ashland, unintentionally by a homeless person. And they think that it was like a cigarette butt. The like weather and the conditions were just right, if you can say that, just wrong. It was like 107 degrees that day, like 40-mile-an-hour winds or something like that. So the fire lit, I believe, from a cigarette, and it just kind of took off in this empty field. And then, so just this raging fire on one side of the freeway. And then some of the embers actually made it to the other side of the freeway. And so the fire jumped from one side. So it jumped like 4 lanes.
Unreal.
And yeah. And it landed in this kind of ravine between the freeway and the homes, which just the wind just picked it up and just flew up the fields. And I believe it was, so it actually hit our house first and then spread to the house next to us, and then went and like just decimated the other. I think there were 10 homes, 11 structures that were burned that day. And yeah, so for me, my personal part of that story, I happened to be home, which was good. Yeah, it was good. And it was also, I was there, but we had a dog too. So I had come home because I had like a doctor appointment, so I wasn't working. I just took the rest of the day off. My husband is in law enforcement, so he was going to work. So we kind of crossed paths. And on his way to work, he actually saw the fire. So it was like right after he left. And he was like, oh, well, I'll probably be going to that. Went to work. And I didn't. So this is how fast these fires move. And I think if you don't see it or you haven't been like there, you don't realize that they move so quickly. The whole back, my entire house was on fire before I even knew anything was happening.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The only reason I even saw it was because I was going to take the dog to the dog park and I had left the leash outside. So I went outside and I grabbed a leash, and I saw the flames. And by the time I had taken him, our dog, from the house to the street, handed him off and went back to go grab computer or something, the whole doorway had been engulfed in flames.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it was just a really fast moving fire. It was one of those things where the firefighters, like, they were amazing. They arrived, they assessed, that my house and several other houses were already gone and they needed to set up a perimeter so the rest of the neighborhood didn't, burn down. So that was what they kind of concentrated their efforts on, was the houses next to us that hadn't quite caught fire yet.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband did end up being dispatched to that, and he got there and was just working. He worked and helped evacuate and kind of help cars, kind of lead cars where they were supposed to go, and watch the whole house just cave in. And it kind of started, it was the first of a pretty long process of rebuilding and recovering and
mm-hmm.
moving on.
So this was in Ashland for people who are out of town or they're not familiar. This happened in Ashland, and this is the same place that this most recent fire started. Not the exact same location, but starting in the same city and then decimating the cities of Phoenix and Talent. As you've been watching that, or you've been hearing this and you've been seeing what people are posting about it, where are you? What are your emotions right now?
Let's see. What are my emotions? Everything, all the emotions.
It's all the emotions. How would you not have all of them? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think where I went was immediately to getting out of crisis mode, because we've moved to Central Point. So we actually got into we got hit with an evacuation 3 for a little while there too. So, I think I was right there with everybody else in that kind of crisis mode feeling. And when as soon as it was pretty clear that we were in the clear where we live, I just wanted to help at that point. It was, I tried to write like a post of like, just something to kind of guide people on what they, what to expect next. And, didn't sleep the night, just like listening to the scanners, waiting to see what was going to happen, just kind of in awe of how fast it spread and how far it reached in such a short time. So my emotions have been all over. I think for everybody involved, not just, for everyone involved in this, even if people still have their homes and never even left their homes, there's this feeling, there's this just attack on your nervous system, just being in that crisis mode, that fear for yourself, for your friends, for your place of work or employment. And that takes a long time to come down from. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's not an easier second time around. We didn't lose our home, but it, certainly set us back to that thought of, okay, what if could this really happen to us again?
Mm-hmm. That must have been scary. I want to go to your post in a minute because you had so much good advice, and I want some of that advice to come through on the podcast. But first, I want to go back to your story. So your husband watches your home fall. You are leaving as your home is igniting. Tell me what some of the emotions, like what it is like to stand at your home that was full of things and memories and things that you cherished, and for it to just be ash. Can you kind of take me there? What is that like?
Yeah, the immediate kind of aftermath of that. We didn't go back immediately. I think it was like 3 or 4 days post when we were able to go back safely. And it's just amazing how nothing was left.
Mm-hmm.
The refrigerator was gone, our bikes were gone, our safe, like a safe that's supposed to be pretty indestructible, totally melted, couldn't even find it. So there's like this numbness and also just state of awe. Like, this is, where do we go from here? You know, like a paralyzed kind of feeling that
Mm-hmm.
this was our home. This was all of our stuff, our photographs, family heirlooms, things were just gone. I remember taking half of my flute from high school and middle school and like using it to like sift through the ashes, just looking for anything that had survived enough to be recognizable and to keep. And for us, there was like a chipped cup, like a little chipped, like decorative cup. And then we had like a poker set that happened to survive, but we left it there and then somebody took it. So we didn't even get that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How were you able to, was there any kind of healing in, okay, I've let those things go? Does that come? I'm wondering for the people who've just gone through this, does that come?
Yes. Well, so it did for me. And I'll emphasize that everybody's going to handle this differently. Everybody's going to have different reactions and emotions to it, including indifference. That's okay and acceptable. Anger, and then just acceptance at some point and letting go. For us, that is what happened for both my husband and myself. We realized, you know, we have insurance, which in itself is something that we were very fortunate to have, that I know a lot of people going through this experience right now don't. So we did have insurance. We had a lot of support from the community and from friends. And so we did get to a point where we said, you know what, it's gone. And I remember making a joke to my husband saying, well, I guess we don't have to worry about cleaning out the garage now. You know, just kind of finding those silver linings. And then as time did go by, it did, you know, that we were able to find some joy in picking out new things and picking out what our house was going to look like and rebuilding it, and just a lot of back and forth, a lot of just this whiplash of emotions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it did come to that. And ultimately now you know, obviously I've let those things go. And I think I'm less attached to material things now than I was before that.
That's what I was going to ask next. What's your relationship with the things we own? And, you know, we put so much stock into all of these different things that we have. And actually, as I was packing, and we only got to a level 2, I really want to like not compare that to what you went through and what just so many people are going through. But I had like a very eye-opening experience as I was like, oh, I thought this really mattered, but I'm not going to grab it right now. You know what I mean? Tell me a little bit about that relationship with material things, what you've learned there.
Yeah, there really isn't any anymore, or it's very pared down to very single things like my wedding rings, you know, like a box of photographs, things that can't be replaced. Mm-hmm. And when we were even preparing to evacuate, there were very few things that I thought I'm going to grab. I made sure that I knew where our like photographs were, where my car keys were, my like person ID, and medications. Mm-hmm. And really was just like, if I don't have time, these are the things I want to make sure that I know where they are. And the rest is all replaceable. Mm-hmm. for us. That's where I am in this. Mm-hmm. The rest is replaceable because we've done it. Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that includes things like I see on these lists sometimes, you know, titles to your car, your passport, your, you know, a deed if you have that, or any paperwork. If you have limited time, don't grab that stuff. all of that is recorded somewhere. All of that can be replaced. The things that to look for, the things that can't be replaced. Photographs, your life's work on your laptop, the things that are materially that are important to you for one reason or another.
And I really like that you said earlier, it's going to be different for everyone, and everyone has something that's important to them that's different than the person next to them. When you were in the recovery, what was the hardest part of recovery?
I think it was different at different stages. The initial like trauma of it lasted for a couple weeks, really, where I didn't want to be anywhere without my husband. I had this real like I needed to just be with someone, like be with him. We could like lean on each other, knew we were both going through. So when we had to be like separated for a reason, just even something running to the store, that was a struggle. I had a moment where like things come up, like I had this stuffed animal that my parents, that it was like my like stuffy, like my little stuffed animal from when I was a kid. And I like, for some reason it like came up in my head and I started thinking about it, and this was a couple weeks even afterward, and it just like sent me back into that, like, the ugly cry, the real just like snot, the whole thing. It just sent me back into that. And another thing, not smelling like myself was kind of a big thing. Like not having the detergent that we usually used, wearing clothes given to us from other people, it just smelled different. Not having our usual like cologne or spray or oils or whatever people use to like, that makes them feel like them. I had like an obsession with like finding this one thing that I wanted to smell like me, and finding that one thing felt like there would be so much comfort in it.
How long did it take you before you were able to feel like you, smell like you?
That took a little while. It didn't really come until we were kind of in our own place again, while we were rebuilding and when I was buying my own clothes.
How did you protect the emotional side of you? Were there any tools that you used to hold on to hope, or to move forward, or to take the one step?
Yeah. I really focused on how much the community had come out to support us and all the other victims in that fire. That it felt really, it was just really humbling and moving, and just seeing so much good, like so many people coming out and supporting us really, really felt healing to me. Yeah. And just knowing that I was going through this with somebody else, with my husband and all these other people on our little street who were going through it too. That's one thing I remember thinking, this would feel different if it were just if it was just our house and we were all alone, and like feeling how like sadness whenever I see something like that happen, where it's just a structure where, just putting myself in that, like I was so thankful to have these other people who understood what I was going through, and I could say like, what's your insurance doing? And, like, how are they treating you? Or do you feel satisfied?
You can bounce the ideas off of one another and learn new things. When you had moments like the moment you talked about when thinking about the stuffy, was there anything that would give you, I don't know, like a calm, or help you move forward, or feel better when you wanted to feel better about it? Was there anything?
Well, my mom searched for hours to find something that was close to that.
Oh,
and
moms, they're so great.
And that was just such a sweet gift. Like she brought it, and it was just like, thank you for getting it, for understanding that how much, even as an adult, having that one little thing, meant to me. So that felt really sweet, having just like somebody do something for me that I didn't ask for, and just really thoughtful. Yeah.
I absolutely love that. That's so sweet. It looked like you were about to say one more thing.
Oh, I wanted to go back to what you had mentioned about comparison, and how you were in the level 2 and not comparing that. I think something I want to leave people with is just don't compare your trauma.
You're
because
right.
it's trauma is trauma, whether, you're on one side of it or you're in another state watching it happen. If you feel, like people process differently and people have different sensitivities. And there's this like survivor's guilt thing, which is very, very real that people feel, and that I've gone through it too. And feeling your trauma and experiencing it and feeling like what it's bringing up for you.
I love that. I'm really, really glad that you brought that up. When you first saw this happening and you were like, okay, I'm writing a post, I'm going to help people, what was the number one thing you wanted to make sure was on that post?
One, I wanted people to know that they needed to call their insurance right away. Because waiting on that delays things, especially.
And it already is going to take a long time with insurance, right?
Exactly. Yes. And the sooner that people can call their insurance and start a claim, the sooner they're going to start getting that money coming in, and at least for immediate things, and they can start getting their rental set up, or whatever their insurance is going to do for them. I also, the part that I think I said about everybody handling it different and giving yourself and other people grace with that, because that's some people react really angry, and that can be a hard thing for others who are reacting in a different way. Or some people can react like it's nothing, like they're just going to pick up and do something else, and people don't understand that either. And it's okay not to understand it. It's okay to have whatever feelings you have. And I just thought that was important, that people give themselves permission to process this experience in their own way.
One of the things that I've noticed a lot of in our community is people saying, well, I had insurance, so I didn't have it as bad as that person, or, I have this job, so I don't have it as bad as them. And so they're slow to take the resources that are out there. What would you say to them? I'm not sure if you experienced that on your street.
Yeah, it was definitely on a much smaller scale. It is really tricky. It's not something I think that most of us are really hardwired to do or brought up to do. We want to, kind of cater to other people and help other people and say like, I don't have it, as bad. And I guess I don't know that I necessarily have an answer to that, because I think I would hope that people would take the help that is offered to them. So by friends and family and people who know them personally, I encourage people to just say yes to offers for help, because other people want to help. And if it gives other people it helps them too. It helps other people who want to help, feel like they can kind of move through it also. And
I want to ask you, what would you tell people about there is another side? Like, you will get through it. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it comes for me anyway. It did come as being this, once we moved through the initial shock of it and started seeing our new house being built, started to understand what the insurance process was and what we could expect. Even through until now, it really has, there is definitely another side to it. There's the side where it's become, this experience you talk about. And when you meet somebody else who's been through it, there's an instant connection there. And it puts you in a place where you can help other people too, when that comes up, within your community or somebody that you know. And that has brought a lot of comfort to me, knowing that my experience, especially with the insurance piece of it, can help guide people so that it goes a little bit smoother for them.
What are some insurance tips?
We'll call them right away.
Yeah.
So there are usually two different like settlements or ways that insurance will handle it. They'll either be like a lump sum, where they'll give you a lump sum for both the rebuilding of your home and a lump sum for your personal property. And replacement of your personal property means anything that if you took the house and turned it upside down, whatever would fall is considered personal property. So not like light fixtures, that's all a part of the replacement or the rebuilding process or the pool of money. So there's either the lump sum where they'll give you, a big chunk of it and say, here it is, this is what we're offering you. And then, or they'll do the process like what we went through where you have to itemize every item that you owned in your home, including, how long you had it, what condition it was in, and any other details you can remember, how much you paid for it or the value of it. And then they send you like a depreciated number, I think, they depreciate it by like, I can't remember exactly. I think it was like 60% or some pretty big, like, so like basically if something
that sounds overwhelming. Like, was that?
It's a lot. Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge process. We didn't even close the personal property piece of it. Like we didn't finish itemizing our list for 2 years. It took that long to keep it going. And even then I think we probably could have gone longer.
Wow. So you're literally like, my shirt with the roses on it, I got it from here. It was $40. Like that's literally line by line.
They do allow you to do like an estimate of, I had a box in the garage full of clothing. I estimated to be like $200 worth of clothes.
Wow. Okay. So that makes it a little bit easier. Okay.
Yeah. So there are I had a junk drawer, probably like $50 worth of stuff in there. So you don't necessarily have to do every little single item, but it's still incredibly overwhelming.
What are your tips on getting through that process?
Getting through it? Yeah. You just got to plug away at it. I would say do as much of it as you can right away. That's when we did the biggest chunk of ours. And then you start getting, if it works the same way as our insurance did, we started getting money in at that point. Once we sent in the list, then they would start sending us money so that we could start replacing our stuff. So I would say just do as much of it as you can. For us, the adjuster sat down with us and she typed it all out. She stayed with us for half of a day and just like, as we listed things off for her. And that was a huge chunk of like stuff that we just sat down and just do it. Cause you're going to have a lot of things to do. There's going to be so many things like that are going to be on your plate that list, it's easy to kind of like say, well, I have a year to do it.
But memories fade.
Memories fade. Yes. And I had posted actually the day before the anniversary of our fire, another post saying, hey, this is my like yearly PSA about fire. Take pictures of everything in your home so that if this happens to you, hopefully it doesn't. If it does, you have photos to help you memorize or to help you remember what, you had in your house. It's like pictures of junk drawers, pictures of rooms, of closets.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want people going through this right now to know?
Yeah. So as far as people going through it themselves, I think just knowing that you are going to get through it and just be prepared for it to not be easy. Just know that this is going to be a challenge. This is going to be a story in your life that you're going to tell, and it's going to earn it. It's going to earn that story. It's going to be something you'll never stop telling people about. And it'll get easier to talk about, and the memories will kind of change and be different depending on what you've gone through. For the community too, there are a couple of things I just want to throw out there.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask next, is how the people who want to help can help.
Yes. So there have already been some great places where donations have been set up. And it's now at this point, I would be really careful to only take things that they need, because as somebody who's been through this, you don't need an entire new wardrobe right now. You don't need, and so people don't have any place to put things. And then, the donation centers are overwhelmed with clothing, for one, is something that a lot of people will donate, which is great. And people need clothes, but they don't need the whole new wardrobe. And so to kind of just slow that piece down and think more like actual cash to people or donations on the GoFundMes. And gift cards are all really great for this like immediate after time when people now there seems to be more the necessities seem to be filled, the donations for necessities seem to be or getting filled as it goes. So those kind of donations, just kind of money is always great. Gift cards are always really great because they're small, they don't take up a lot of space, and the person can get what they want. And please, 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 if it's not your home or your neighborhood, I really encourage people not to drive by for a while. I mean, I think a lot of it's still closed anyway, but when it opens up, give people some space to get to their home and start processing what they've been through without having a caravan of cars of people from all over the valley that don't live there and haven't, that have no connection to that place. Just give them some space, because it's awful to be standing there looking at your house and have all these people driving by in cars really slowly also staring at your house. It just feels really kind of invasive. And we also had contractors come and drop off their cards and try to talk to us while we were there at our house. And it just was really not the appropriate time for that. So those are kind of the two like community things that just give the people that are directly impacted some time to process it and be at their home before you go and check it out yourself.
I'm really glad you said that. I was a reporter for, about a decade here in Southern Oregon. And to see the caravan of people coming in to look at things is not a good feeling. And I've seen it from everything from what you're talking about to murders. Like, it's not, you don't need to see it firsthand, especially when things are what you were talking about, where they are. There's two things I want to ask you. Two more questions. The second to last question is, how are you stronger today because this happened?
Oh, yeah. I know that I can get through something big now. I know that I've gone through this horrendous experience, and if it had happened again 2-3 days ago, I know I would be able to get through it again, and that it would definitely be a story to tell. But I feel a lot more attached to the things that are really important. My family, my pets, and the community.
Knowing that you are capable of doing hard things, how does that change the way you come up against conflict in your life?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. There's this undercurrent of calm now that I have from that experience that I didn't have before. This almost something crazy is about to happen, and there's like a current of this calm that I can kind of dip into, that I can say, okay, I'm not gonna start going into flight mode at this point. I can take my time to really think about what I need, and I have a little bit of time and kind of plan it out. So I think I handle crisis a little bit differently than I did before, having been through it once and knowing that I can get through it.
That's really incredible. The last question I want to ask you is, this podcast is all about finding more joy in the everyday. What's your number one tip to finding more joy in the good, the bad, and the in-between?
I think finding your joy, the good, the bad, and the in-between. I think looking for it is huge. Looking for the joy is really big. And then being really accepting of when you just can't find it too, and being okay with that, and knowing that maybe I don't have so much, I don't feel joy right now. I can't find joy because I'm going through something really hard, but I am going to feel it again. It will come again, and this will pass. And to be just give yourself a lot of grace during those times.
Christine, I have been doing this podcast for 3 years, and no one has ever given me that answer. That is incredible. I mean, you're absolutely right. If the joy is not there today, no, it will come again. I'm so, so thankful that you came on the podcast. You are so full of wisdom, and I'm so I'm so thankful for it. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing what you know and sharing that there is joy again, even if it's not today. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Christine. I am just so thankful for her wisdom, and I'm thankful that she shared her story at this time. If you are someone who wants to help, I hope you have great ideas on how to do that. And if you are someone who just lost your home, what I really want you to know